The night the sky turned the color of dried blood, Kalen stood at the edge of the cliff, the wind whipping through his silver-streaked hair, and whispered a name he hadn't spoken in 10 years, Oren. It wasn't a prayer. It wasn't a curse. It was a promise, carved into the silence like a blade into stone. Below, the sea roared, hungry and endless, but Kalen didn't flinch. He had survived worse than falling. They had once been brothers in all but blood, Kalen and Oren, raised under the same cracked moon of the Hollow Vale, where shadows clung to the trees like secrets and the wind carried the scent of old magic. Oren, with his sun-bright smile and eyes like molten amber, had once pulled Kalen from the jaws of the Blackfen mire when he was just a boy, whispering, "No one leaves their brother behind." And Kalen, quieter, sharper, with a mind like a locked vault and hands that could mend broken things with a touch, had repaid that debt 100 times over, stealing bread when Oren was starving, shielding him from the wrath of the Vale's cruel overseers, even taking the lash meant for Oren's back when they were caught sneaking into the high orchards of Eldergrove. They were bound not by law or lineage, but something deeper, something forged in hunger, in laughter around stolen fires, in the unspoken vow that no matter how dark the world became, they would face it together. For years that bond held. They grew into men beneath the watchful gaze of the Twin Peaks, Kalen apprenticing under the old tinker Master Valen, learning the art of shaping metal and mending the broken gears of time, while Oren, bold and fearless, became a scout for the Vale's watch, known for his uncanny ability to read the land like a map written in wind and footprints. Together, they dreamed of leaving the Hollow Vale, of finding a place beyond the mist and memory, where names didn't carry shame and the past didn't claw at your heels. They called it Silphera, a land of silver rivers and golden trees, spoken of in old songs and half-forgotten tales. It was a dream, yes, but dreams were all they had, and for a time it was enough. But dreams, like fire, need fuel, and theirs was fed by desperation. It started with a rumor. A whisper passed through the market stalls near the Moonstone Gate. A relic had been unearthed in the ruins of Vorthal, deep in the Whispering Wastes. Not gold, not jewels, but something far more valuable. The Aether Lens. A device said to bend light and time, to reveal what was hidden, to open paths long sealed. The elders claimed it was myth, but Oren's eyes had burned when he heard it. "This is it, Kalen," he said one night, crouched by the embers of their fire. "This is how we leave. This is how we find Silphera."
Kalen hesitated. The Whispering Wastes were cursed, crawling with sand-wraiths and buried traps older than memory. But Oren had always been the one to leap before looking, and Kalen, ever the anchor, had always been the one to follow. "Only if we go together," he said firmly. "No risks. No heroics. We find it, we take it, we vanish." Oren grinned. Together. Always. They spent months preparing, gathering maps from forgotten scrolls, trading for water skins and sand cloaks, studying the stars for the safest passage. Kalen crafted tools from scrap metal, a compass that hummed with faint blue light, a lockpick that could open doors sealed by ancient runes. Oren trained their bodies, running the dunes at dawn, learning to move without sound, to vanish into the heat haze. When they finally set out, the Hollow Vale seemed to sigh behind them, as if it knew they would not return the same. The journey was brutal. The sun blazed like a forge, the sands shifted beneath their feet, and the wind carried voices, whispers in a language no one alive could speak. They saw ruins half buried in dunes, pillars carved with eyes that seemed to follow them, and once a vast skeleton of something that had once been alive, but was now stone and sorrow. Yet they pressed on, driven by the dream, by the promise of a life beyond survival. And then, at last, they found Vorthal. It wasn't a city, not anymore. It was a wound in the earth, a spiral of black stone descending into darkness. The air above it shimmered, and the silence was so thick it pressed against the ears. At the center stood a tower, cracked but still proud, its peak crowned with a single, pulsing light, the aether lens, glowing like a captured star. They entered at twilight, moving like shadows. Kalen led, his tools humming softly, disarming traps with careful precision. Orin guarded their backs, his bow ready, his eyes scanning the shifting dark. Deeper they went, through corridors lined with forgotten glyphs, past chambers filled with dust and echoes. And then, at the heart of the ruin, they found it. The lens rested on a pedestal of obsidian, floating just above the surface, spinning slowly, casting prismatic light across the chamber. It was beautiful, terrible. It sang, a sound so faint it was felt more than heard, like a heartbeat beneath the skin of the world. Orin stepped forward, breathless. "We did it, Kalen! We actually did it!" Kalen didn't move. He studied the room, the angles, the silence. "It's too easy," he murmured. "No guardian? No final trap?" Orin laughed, a bright, reckless sound. "Maybe the legends were wrong. Maybe it just wanted to be found." He reached out. "Wait," Kalen said sharply, but it was too late. Orin's fingers brushed the lens. The chamber exploded with light. Kalen was thrown back, his vision white, his ears ringing. When he could see again, Orin was on his knees, the lens cradled in his hands, his face bathed in its glow. But something was wrong. His eyes, once warm amber, were now cold, glassy, reflecting colors that didn't exist. "Orin?" Kalen croaked, pushing himself up. Orin turned slowly. He smiled, but it wasn't his smile. It was too wide, too still. "It's beautiful," Orin whispered. "It showed me everything, the paths, the doors, the truth." Kalen's blood turned to ice. What truth? Orin rose, the lens floating beside him now, tethered to his hand by threads of light. "The lens doesn't lie. It showed me the past, the real past. Your father didn't die in the mines, Kalen. He was executed for treason, for trying to steal the Vale's heartstone. And your mother, she wasn't sick. She was silenced because she knew too much." Kalen staggered. "That's not true. It's all true," Orin said, stepping closer. "And you're not just a tinker's apprentice. You're a descendant of the Stonebreakers, the ones who tried to tear the Vale apart. You were never meant to survive childhood. But I was chosen. The lens chose me. It needs a voice, a hand, a leader."
Kalen's mind reeled. "Orin, this thing is twisting your thoughts. Put it down, please." Orin's smile vanished. "You always were weak, always holding me back, dreaming of some fairyland while I was the one doing the real work, protecting you, saving you, and for what? So you could carry your cursed blood into a new world?" He raised his hand. The lens pulsed. Kalen felt it before he saw it, the air thickening, the ground trembling. From the shadows, shapes emerged. Not men, not animals, figures of sand and smoke, their eyes glowing with the same cold light as the lens. The sand wraiths. And they obeyed Orin. "No," Kalen breathed. "You should have stayed in the Vale," Orin said softly. "Now you'll become part of the waste, just dust and memory." The wraiths lunged. Kalen ran. He didn't think, he didn't plan. He fled through the collapsing ruin, the walls cracking, the floor giving way beneath him. Behind him, Orin's laughter echoed, mingled with the shriek of the wraiths. He barely made it out, scrambling up the spiral as the tower imploded behind him, burying Orin and the lens beneath tons of black stone. He collapsed on the dunes, coughing sand, his body broken, his heart shattered. He waited for death. But death didn't come. Instead, the wind brought a voice, faint, distant, but clear. "You are not finished." He looked up. The stars above were different, brighter, closer, and in their pattern he saw not chaos, but code, a language of light and motion. The same language etched into the tools he had built, the same rhythm that hummed in his blood. He remembered his father's last words, whispered before the guards took him. "The world is made of hidden gears. Learn to turn them." Kalen survived. He crawled out of the whispering wastes, half dead, his mind fractured, his soul scorched. But he lived. And he remembered. 10 years passed.
The hollow veil changed. The overseers were gone, replaced by a quiet council. The orchards bloomed again. The children played without fear. And in the heart of the vale, a new tinker's shop stood where the old one had burned. Kalen's Forge, its sign shaped like a turning gear. Kalen worked there, quiet, solitary, his hands steady, his eyes distant. He mended clocks, fixed wagons, crafted delicate instruments for the star watchers. He was kind, polite, unremarkable. But every night, when the forge cooled and the stars emerged, he returned to his hidden chamber beneath the shop, where walls were lined with gears, wires, and blueprints older than memory. There he built not tools, but a machine, a device of mirrors and light, of resonance and recall, a counter lens, a truth weaver. He studied the stars. He decoded the whispers in the wind. He learned how the aether lens had bent Orin's mind, how it fed on ambition and twisted loyalty into ownership. And he learned something else. The lens could be called back, not by force, by memory. Because betrayal, like love, leaves echoes. And Kalen had 100 of them. He began to prepare, not for war, for reckoning. He gathered fragments, Orin's old scarf, a shard of the compass they'd used in the wastes, a vial of sand from Vorthal. He wove them into the truth weaver, threading them with songs they once sang, with words they once spoke. He didn't want to destroy Orin. He wanted to remember him, to bring back the boy who had pulled him from the mire. But first, he had to find him. Rumors came, slow and scattered. A wanderer in the northern marshes spoke of a man who walked without footprints, followed by shadows that bowed to him. A trader from the salt peaks told of a village that vanished overnight, its people gone, its wells filled with sand. And then a child's drawing found in a ruined chapel. A man with amber eyes and a crown of light standing over a broken clock. Kalen knew. Orin was alive. The lens had preserved him, twisted him, made him something more and less than human. And he was returning. The signs grew stronger. Crops withered in straight lines, as if cut by an invisible blade. Animals fled the forests. The stars blinked out in patterns that spelled names in the old tongue. And then one evening, as Kalen stood at the edge of the vale, watching the sunset bleed across the hills, he felt it, a tremor in the earth, a hum in the air.
He turned. On the distant ridge, a figure stood,
silhouetted against the dying light. Tall, still, surrounded by shifting sand. Kalen didn't run. He didn't call for help. He simply opened his coat, revealing the small glowing device strapped to his chest. The Truth Weaver, fully charged, its core pulsing with stored memory. The wind rose. Oren descended. He moved like a storm given form, the ground cracking beneath his boots, the air warping around him. The sand wraiths slithered at his heels, their eyes fixed on Kalen. But Oren's gaze, those cold, glassy eyes, locked onto the device. "You built a toy. You think it could hurt me," Oren said, his voice layered, echoing with something ancient. Kalen didn't flinch. He said, "I didn't build it to hurt you. I built it to see you." Oren laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "Ha ha 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 ha. I am beyond seeing. I am the voice of the lens, the will of the wastes. You are nothing, a ghost of a friendship that never mattered." Kalen took a slow step forward. "You said that the night you left me in Vorthal, right before you sent the wraiths." Oren's smile faltered, just for a moment. "And you said, 'No one leaves their brother behind,' when you pulled me from the Black Fen mire. Do you remember that, Oren? Do you remember how you carried me for miles, your shoulder bleeding where the thorns cut you? How you gave me your last sip of water?" The wind stilled. Oren's hand twitched. "Lies. The past is dust." "No, the past is here." He pressed the button on the Truth Weaver. Light erupted. Not blinding, not violent. A gentle wave, rippling outward like a stone dropped in still water. It didn't attack. It remembered. Images formed in the air, flickering, real. Two boys laughing by a fire. Oren teaching Kalen to track deer. Kalen fixing Oren's broken boot with wire and glue. The night they swore the oath beneath the Twin Peaks. The journey to Vorthal. The moment Oren touched the lens. And then the betrayal. Oren staggered. "Stop it. I didn't betray you, Kalen. You betrayed us. But not because you wanted to, because it made you." The light deepened. It wrapped around Oren like a cloak. The sand wraiths shrieked and dissolved. The aether lens, hidden beneath Oren's coat, flared and cracked. Oren fell to his knees. "Kalen?" His voice was thin, human. What happened?" Kalen dropped to one knee before him. "You're back." Tears streamed down Oren's face. I saw such things. It showed me power, a future, and I thought I was saving us. I thought I was making us strong." "You were strong already. We didn't need the lens. We had each other." Oren looked at his hands. "I left you. I tried to kill you." "And I forgave you," Kalen said, "the moment I survived." Oren shook his head. "You should hate me." "I did," Kalen admitted, "for years. But hate is a fire that burns the holder. I chose to remember the boy who saved my life, not the shadow the lens made." The cracked lens fell from Oren's coat, its light fading to a dull glow. Kalen picked it up, not with greed, not with fear, with pity. "It's broken," Oren whispered. "It's done." Kalen nodded. "Then it's over." But as he turned to leave, Oren grabbed his arm. "Wait, there's something else." Before it took me, the lens showed me one last thing. Not a path, a warning. It said, "The gears are turning. The first betrayal has birthed the next. Beware the one who smiles with both mouths." Kalen froze. "What does that mean?" Oren shook his head. "I don't know, but it wasn't lying. Not then." They stood in silence as the stars emerged, brighter than before. Kalen looked down at the broken lens, then at his old friend, broken but healing. Revenge, he realized, wasn't fire, it wasn't blood, it was truth. It was facing the wound and choosing not to let it fester. He helped Oren to his feet. "We go home," Kalen said. Oren hesitated. "After what I did, can I?" Kalen smiled, just a little. "You once said no one leaves their brother behind. I believe that, even now." And together, under a sky full of turning gears and silent stars, they walked back to the hollow vale. But far to the east, in a tower of mirrored glass, a figure watched through a lens of darker light. He touched his face, where a scar split his smile in two, and whispered a name, Kalen, and smiled with both mouths.